good evening, my fellow citizens, my fellow patriots, my fellow, my fellow men, all you people in television land, YouTube land, Yahoo land, Twitter land, Tumblr land, Flickr land, Facebook land, and all the lands out there. We are one land. That is a fact. And that is a fact. We are one land. 50, 48 continental states. We are one land from California to New Jersey, New York, and whatever. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am here and I have, and Edmund Hollingsworth has been telling me, insisting that I get on the YouTube channel and make some commentaries with respect to the election and the truck driver strikes and all kinds of people being all fluttered up because of the elections. And he wanted to shed some light into this. So this really can be done in 45 to 50 minutes. It really is going to take about two or three YouTubes to have a good conversation on this. But I posted, I guess underneath where I'm coming out of where you're looking at me, underneath a series of links and references. I found out how to do it. So hooray for that part. I found out how to do it. I just need to get up how to activate the live chat so people who are looking at me can chat in and make comments or say something. Now, I've noticed throughout the social media world and also in the regular media, the newspapers, the television, the different networks, the cable channels. I mean, I've been on TV. I mean, I've been looking at TV and looking at the following some of the social media outlets, TikTok, which for some reason it didn't go away yesterday. It's still up and running at full blast. Looks like the Trump man got all out of shape and doesn't know where his head is. But there's a lot of rumors going on. There's a lot of information floating around. Some are truly relevant, others are misconstrued, like the Second Amendment, and I will have a special uh, in the second part of my comments on the election, on my analysis on the election. I'll dig more into the Second Amendment, and I have the Constitution right here. So this is a small version. I got the bigger version from an author named Black, constitutional expert. Anybody who goes to law school gets to study under that book of Black, and so that's a very well founded book. And I've noticed that a lot of people read the Second Amendment like they wish, half ass, so to say, you know, put it in down into your feelings. Now remember, and in all my other videos, I say, I'm a working guy. I'm a working guy like anybody else. I do janitorial services in addition to doing ushering. So it's not exactly the peak of any profession, but it's a well respected profession, a profession that is needed. I mean, you don't want to work in a pile of crap and garbage. So you want your place clean. So whoever goes to work there has a nice clean spot. One of the things that Edmund asked me to do is to expand on the truck driving strike, which I went in and digged a little deeper, plus all the input that he had. So between Edmund Hollingsworth and myself, Vicente Vasquez, or Vince, like I said before, which I put my email on there, contrary to what I was told that I shouldn't, but I said I'm going to go ahead because I trust the people. And notice I use the word trust. That is a fundamental word of value for the United States. So anyone from Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, Nebraska, North and South Dakota, Oklahoma, Texas, here where I am, trust, Alabama, Mississippi. Trust is a word that carries weight. So make no joke about it, make no fun about it. Trust has a fundamental value for anybody who calls himself a patriot. Think about that. So let's start the conversation with the truck drivers. I once wanted to become a truck driver, except as you can see, I have glasses. My eyes haven't always been the peak of perfection, and I didn't quite, or maybe I went to a bad driving company or driving school, and they said that I needed better eyesight in order for me to drive a tractor trailer. In addition, I have friends who are truck drivers. That's how they motivated me, and like I said in the previous video, I still have one friend that we write to each other every now and then, but we stay in contact, which is important. Charity or love plays a great part in our value system also. All of those who are patriots and don't love, how can I trust them to be patriots if they don't love? That's kind of like something fundamental to everybody who is a patriot and who is a conservative also, and who believes in the Bible and believes in God, believes in Jesus Christ, believes in the sanctity of life, and has no love. No can do, my friend. No can do. So, the trucking companies going on strike. From all the information, sorry about that. For all the information that I gathered and the input that I got from Edmund, I don't see any fundamental reason for this people, for all the truck drivers to go on strike. Granted, there was a brief period of time when you guys were heroes. You were considered within the first responders. A misnomer, but the newspapers and the televisions and everybody on TV land and newspaper land and social media at a given moment in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic that we're under, labeled you guys as first responders, being great heroes. So you were the bloodline of the nation because you're part of the logistics system, which you are. You're part of the logistics system, just like the trains are part of the logistics system, and just like many the plane airplanes are part of the logistics system. So the logistics system is more complex than just a truck driving from one point A to point B to point C. That's just part of the puzzle. That's not the whole puzzle. Now, if you're doing it for political reasons, shame on you. Shame on you. And for the reasons that I've heard, and for the reasons that Edmund brought to me, shame on you. There's a book that I put on the references that you should read. Now, one more thing that's very important for the truck drivers. Since some of the truck drivers seem to be very sassy and very cocky and very prima donna and assholes at the same time, how many of you know what populism is? Do you have any idea what populism is? Does it even cross your brain what populism is? There was a guy, a truck driver that I saw his comments, and he underlined the word that he's a Christian and that he's in a predicament. He doesn't know which way to go, whether to strike or not to strike, whether to stay or not to stay. Well, the truck driving industry is a very divided industry. But let me give you a little bit of highlight in history. Some of the truck drivers that I saw on the YouTube, that I saw on the TikTok, that I saw on Facebook, you guys are not that as old as I am. Look at my face. Those who are looking at this video, look at my face. I'm not a young whippersnapper, so I know what I'm saying, what I'm talking about. I lived it. I was there. I was in the middle of all this craziness that happens in this country. So back in the Reagan years, there was two giant strikes that claimed to paralyze the country. Now, before I go on, let me put this into perspective. You're making a strike in November. Technically, you start on the 11th of November, but it's going to be from the 26th to the 29th. You are doing it under Donald Trump. You're not doing that under Joe Biden. Whatever that got into some of you truck drivers' head, that is as false as can be. I dare you to drive your truck with just a half of a quarter of a tank. See how far you go. And you think and say, "Oh, I'm going to drive 500 miles in a quarter of a tank." Let's see how true it is. So you're going to drive 500 miles on a quarter of a tank of gas, of fuel, diesel fuel. That's how Donald Trump thinks he can do miracles. He can't. He can't do miracles. He hasn't done a damn thing. He hasn't done a damn thing for me. He hasn't done a damn thing for you guys. Even though you paraded, or a bunch of truck drivers paraded in the White House back in probably 2018. I didn't quite get that date exact, for me to say it in this commentary, but more or less, I mean, you guys should be aware when a bunch of truck drivers went down there, he jumped into a truck and pulled the horn, the the little rope of the horn. I mean, that was all the show. What did he do with you guys? Did he regulate a lot of regulations that govern you guys? Did he did away with the electronic logbook? Did he better the price of diesel fuel? Did he better your conditions as an owner operator? Did he somehow subsidize? Because that's the only he can do. He can't just order people around, even though he wishes he could do that, and he acts like he could do that. But he can't just go bullying people around. He has to pull rank. And many of you truck drivers that were in the military should understand what pull rank means. When somebody pulls rank on you, what do? You just have to stand there like a muppet. That's what you do. You stand like a muppet. So populism is the word that I was asking you. Do you know what populism is? Because if you do, why are you striking? There is no reason to strike. There is no foundation to strike. There is nothing that can explain to me in a rational logistics manner that you're going to retake the country. If we're talking about corruption, Donald Trump is the epitome of corruption. And did he get into this race? Whoever stimulated his brain to say you got a chance, because he's been trying to be president. This is not the first time he jumps into the boat. If you believe that lie, read the book that I put there. Read it. Somebody of you read it. Get somebody to read it for you if you get tired of reading. Read the book and see. This is not his first rodeo at trying to be president. No, no, sirree, no. Next thing, This is not his first time in politics. I can be closer to politics if I get involved with politicians and start hanging around with politicians. And he's doing the same thing that Richard Nixon did right now. Now, how many of you remember Richard Nixon? I bet you guys, many of you guys don't even probably don't even remember the name, or if you remember the name, you probably heard it 1,000 times somewhere. But how many understand the Watergate situation? Watergate. Who was that? Was that scandal? That scandal of Watergate and everything that they found and they discovered. What happened in Watergate? Who was it? The Republican Party. Who took us to war? To a fake war, because that's what it is. I mean, if somebody wants to use, and I've heard a lot of comments from truck drivers. Yeah, oh, that's fake news. Well, how about the fake war of Iraq? They got a bunch of military down there, and we're still down there. Trump said he was going to get the military out, and he hasn't. He's still there. They're still there. Bunch of troops are still there. I know. In an indirect way, I'm connected to the military, believe it or not. The people are still down there. They haven't left. They're still there, and there's more growing. So take that into account. It says you guys, it says you're so bravo going out on a strike. Take that into account because back in the Reagan years, like I started to say, the air control tower people went on strike. Look it up on Google. I forgot to put the link down there where I was putting all the links, and I was gonna put that air control. I found it. Look it up. You guys can find it. Everybody's got a computer. You got a telephone. There's a smartphone. Do it on the smartphone. Reagan air controller strike. What happened? Yeah, they paralyzed the airline industry for a couple of hours. They thought they were going to paralyze the airline industry like for a long time. They had planned. They had a whole week that they were going to be on strike. And what did Reagan do? Bring in the military, and they got trained personnel on doing air control. So they took over all the air control towers. That was the end of that strike, and they didn't get squat. Next one, the post office went on strike for the longest period in the history of the post office. They went on strike. Now this guy's both the air control tower had legitimate reasons. I mean, they weren't treated right. They were overworked, underpaid. Well, they did get a raise when they came back out of the strike, but they're still overworked and they're short on personnel, and especially now. I understand that those folks are double shifting. So they still haven't gotten to the place where they want to be, good pay and a comfortable job. Now they're all stressed out, and I mean, and and I mean, they get penalized if some aircraft crashes, or that's because it's their fault. It's their fault. They get penalized, and they go to jail, and then they can go to jail, but they do go to jail. So that's the air control people. Now the mailmen, they went on strike. They were going to go on strike for a week also, or 2 weeks. They had tents and they had people walking picket lines. They had signs and all this. And what happened? They asked UPS if they can pick up the slack, and they did. They proved you. Nobody believed it. I did. I said, "Man, UPS is coming into place. Shit, they're gonna show the post office how to do their job," and they did. They did. They actually did. They showed the post office how to do the job. They went into every ranch corner that little truck could go into and deliver the mail. Believe me, I'm not happy that they do that, but I'm just saying that was. I mean, I'm not a prophet, and I said they're gonna bring in a carrier. I didn't say which one. I just said they're gonna bring in a carrier, and that carrier is gonna substitute the post office, and Long and behold, it was UPS. They have the infrastructure, they got the distribution system. Shit, man. They got the trucks, they got everything. So the government gave them a small contract and they delivered the mail like there was no mañana. And that's the same thing with a lot of strikes that go on. So it's a question of being intelligent and knowing what you want and you want to demand. Now I understand regulations. I understand truck rates. I understand that they don't treat you fine. But that goes on the people. I mean, we should change. And I always said this, and I'll say it again. We should get our state legislators to push on changing the attitude that this business people have because they act like it was a private club. Oh, you can't come in here. You're all dirty. Come on, man. Well, what are you in business for? How come you're selling food? You know, I thought this was Walmart. You know, it's a business open for the public. It was not a private club. Sam's Club, you got to buy a membership. Yeah, yeah, I can understand that. That's pretty clear. You want to be part of Sam Clubs, you got to buy into the membership. Once you're a member, I mean, as long as you obey the rules, you play by the rules, you live by the rules, and they can kick you out. It's a privilege. It's not a right, and it should be a right when somebody opens a business, a bar, a grocery store, a mechanic shop, a bakery, and they're selling to the general public because that's who's feeding them, the general public. And they say, "No, I don't want to sell it to you," or "I don't want to provide service to you," or "We're shutting it down." And you're like, "Wait a minute, that's not right." So there's ways to push the pencil and be more effective. Voting is a way to do it. Unfortunately, you guys can't do it so much. But then, what is a National Trucking Association good for? I asked my question. What's the Trucking Association good for? I used to meet some of the members in another life that I had. That I used to work very closely with truck drivers, and I used to work in the distribution and import export of confectionery products. And truck drivers were, I mean, I respect truck drivers. I think they're great. In fact, there was a truck driver that wanted to take me to Laredo, Texas, just to experience being on the truck, since I didn't get a chance to get a CDL license. But I respect, I mean, you guys are great. I think you're great. I mean, it's me only. I don't know, some people, but another thing, I mean, you guys feel bad because you say, oh, no, they don't treat us fine. Think back in the 70s, for those that can remember the 70s. What was the attitude of the general public, of the general population here in the US, including law enforcement? What was their attitude towards the Vietnam vets who came back to the US when they got them all back, which was also with Nixon? Uh, what was their attitude? Ask yourself that question. What was their attitude? Was the system upside down? Was the system corroded? Was the system a fraudulent system? Why were the Vietnam vets so badly treated? Tell me that. Tell me that. Come on. Somebody tell me that. Why were the vets so badly treated? And then you're saying, "Oh, we're going to take our country back." What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I didn't see the vets saying, "No, we're going to take our country back because they hate us and all this is corruption." What? That's Trump talking. You guys are taking in the talking points of Trump himself. So if you don't understand populism, I suggest you look it up. Now, there's a video I did on populism, and I'm going to do a second video that's going to be the tail end to that populism deal. And populism is a craft. Just like maybe some of you are salespeople. You sell things on the side. You drive a truck, and then on the side you sell something. Hey, I mean it's t-shirts or whatever. But there are some people who sell stolen stuff, who become a black market for the people who steal. They sell stereos, they sell car radios, they sell all this stuff, and they're all stolen. So, and your industry is very fortunate or unfortunate to be crossroads with those kind of people. And many truck drivers go into that black market to sell stolen goods. And I know that as a fact. There's not nobody's telling me, oh no, you looked it up on a book and the book is wrong and it's fake news. No such thing. I seen it. I lived it. A truck driver stole from me, saying that he was going to sell me a TV, and it ended up to be a stolen TV. So we got to pull out. So I said I wasn't going to take it. And then he and his buddies got all angry, and I just backed out and said, "You keep the TV and keep the money, and that's it. We call it quits." They cussed me out, but that's about it. Nonetheless, think about that. Think about that, what I'm saying, people. I hope YouTube algorithm puts me in the front of the face so people can look at my video, because this is crucial information for the truck drivers. Yeah, I understand that. Uh, the COVID-19. Yes, you guys are big in distribution, and basically that's about. And many of you are truck operators, so you own your own business. I'm a business specialist. That's one of my specialties. So yeah, you need to look at cost benefit. What's the cost and what's the benefit? The strike. If you're going to look at it from a business perspective, what's the cost of striking and what's the benefit of the strike? You're not going to change nothing, and you're not gain nothing, and you're doing it under the Trump wash. So you're not impacting Biden. Everything is under the Trump watch. One way or another, he's running the three-ring circus. And if he cheats, that's because he cheats. And if somebody's the enemy of the state, he is the enemy of the state. It's not the press, he is. Because he's the cause that this thing got all out of shape. He's the one who started to yell out fraud voting, fraud this and fraud that. Why did he do that? Why did he was the first one to say, "Oh, this is fraud"? What's he trying to do? To say that's going to happen and I'm not to blame for it? I'm a innocent little shepherd boy? Oh, he's not innocent. That's the least of his. He's not innocent. He is the problem. If I'm going to do something wrong and I start saying, "Oh yeah, this I'm gonna break your windows of your trailer," and I start saying it out loud, and I go out and say it, and I publish it. I'm gonna break some trailer windows, and when it happens, what are you gonna say? Oh man, what are you gonna do? Just kind of scratch your head and say, "Shoot, man, he said it. How can we blame him?" See, it's called the boomerang, but he is to blame. The blame is, and the blame would fall on me. I'm the person responsible for breaking your windows. I should go to jail. I should be paying the insurance that pays you, throws me in the jail in the tank. Why? Because I broke your windows. So Trump is doing the same thing. He's saying, "Oh, well, there's going to be fraud," and he started to say that even before the elections. All this fraud and mail out ballot. I mean, And then he had somebody there from, because there are states who have a history of doing mail out ballots. And if you guys don't know this, I mean, come on, man. Come on. And that woman, there's a couple of women that come out. Come on, ladies. Get with the, smell the coffee, smell the roses, get with the program. Their states have been doing this mail in ballots like forever. They have it down to a science. So this is the, and how come he's not blaming some of the states that do have it? So there's a state, there's 5 states that where a lot of this turmoil could happen. It is happening. Arizona has like the longest time doing mail-in ballots. The neighbor has a long time doing mail-in ballots. How come he's not accusing of fraud the neighbor? Why? Because he came out red in his favor. Why is he accusing Arizona? Because Arizona split, and more likely it's going to be blue. So he doesn't like that. He wants to win. He's a sore loser. He's always been a sore loser. He's always been like that. He's always been a sore loser, asshole, prima donna, pompous individual who cares less, cares about nobody, will do anything to gain a buck. He'll sell his grandmother for $1 if that was the case. So come on, give me a break. Think about what you're doing. It's not worth it. It's not worth a penny that he stands on. No, sorry. Not him, not his wife, not his kids. No, sorry, that's not the right attitude. And we had another rich president. So he's not the only rich president. And he claims he's not in politics. He's been in politics like forever. So let's look at the other rich president that we had. We had John Fitzgerald Kennedy. John Kennedy. A billionaire too, and he didn't get paid. He refused his payment, so he didn't get a salary for being president. They killed him. That's the price of rice. There was many things that he wanted to do and wanted to change. And one of the things he wanted to expose corruption, some of the corruption that's in this country. It's sophisticated corruption. I mean, there's corruption everywhere. There's corruption in the truck business. Just like I said a while ago, your system, your trucking apparatus system conflatuates, crisscrosses with the underworld of stolen goods, and many truck drivers sell the stolen goods. Why be? Why dress yourself like a white sheep when you're as black as a piece of charcoal? So let's look at some of these issues that make the whole thing different for this movement and this support for Donald Trump. I mean, I voted for him the first time. I didn't vote for him this time, but I didn't vote. I voted for him last time, and yet when as we progressed in the 4 years, I thought this is the worst decision that I made in my life. This guy is screwing us I mean, we're not even noticing how he's screwing us. And he's got a bunch of followers because they empathize. No, they don't empathize with him. They visualize themselves through him. Oh, he's a tough guy. Oh, look how he talks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's right. He's got all of me. He's talking about us. He's supporting us. A, he's not supporting the people that go out there to his rallies. B, he's getting richer through the rallies that he has because he sells you all this stuff. 3, the most important thing that he needs about you, of all the people that go to his rallies, is the vote, because he got to where he wanted to go. He's been pursuing the presidency for a long time. from the sidelines, but he's been pursuing it. He tried to be president twice already, but he backed out. He quit in the middle of the road because he saw there was no potential for him to win. And now in this last round, the black guy. I mean, I think I have the authority since to call him a black guy because I walked in the freedom marches. So I think because I walked in the freedom marches, I think I can I can uh, I can attribute myself the privilege and the right to say black. So the black man became president, and he did squat. I mean, he could have done several things to help socially. He could have done several things to help the migrant people. He screwed the migrant people. He screwed his own people. I mean, technically his own people. He's a uh, somebody who doesn't like his own color. He's like a Michael Jackson. He wants to be white man. I don't know about his wife, but I know he said that to Whoopi Goldberg. He was a mulat. He wasn't black. He was mulat. I said, damn, that's pretty hidden under the belt. And Whoopi Goldberg just opened her eyes like, what? She didn't say nothing. She stood up and walked out, and then came back. Yeah, I would have done the same thing. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, in Mexico, Vicente Fox was and is an embarrassment to the country. But anyway, the current guy is another embarrassment to the country. But anyway, that's another topic to address. But now we're talking about you guys, the truck drivers. So you do have an important role in society. Your job is very important. And the problem with your job is that larger companies impact negatively the smaller companies. So legislation has to come around to level the playing field for everybody. Now, unfortunately, costs are going to go up, and costs are going to go up in the grocery stores with the groceries and everything else. Everything you guys carry from any commodity you carry, it's going to go up in price because the cost of is going to go up. I mean, the the government can continue to subsidize the oil and gas industry and make sure that that you guys run on a low. The cost of diesel oil is low, and some things they can try to um, reduce so the cost to you guys is less. And having to work with the insurance companies too, because the cost of insurance for your trucks is just outrageous as well. So that's something that you have to concern yourself with also. And the maintenance of your truck has to be also taken care of. So there's a lot of things that can be ironed out and put it before the table and say, these are some of critical points that we have as truck drivers in our industry and in our owner operator smaller companies, and we would like to have the benefits because you're working with JB Hunt, you're working with Schneider. I mean, you guys are side by side with these big companies. I mean, take that into consideration. Knight, Watkins, you name it. There's a bunch of large companies that are floating around. C.J. Robinson, Roadway, that just merged with another company. So you got monster companies. You think those guys are gonna stop? I think they're gonna feel like they're in a bonanza. They're gonna pick up the freight that you guys aren't picking up. They'll take the rate that's there, and they'll make money. I mean, this is a margin industry. This is not a high profit industry. This is a margin industry, and you gotta know how to work the margin because that's the nature of the beast. Taxi drivers are also a margin industry. All the taxi drivers are a margin industry. You can't expect to make a 25% return on their capital. No, sir, they can't. They or the people who use them is going to be less and less, and then so the less and less people are not going to come up with the money that is necessary to make them profitable. So it's working with the margins and make you guys successful. Learning how to work with the margins. So good bookkeeping, good margin analysis will make you guys successful. Good rates, better rates. Yeah, we can make. Uh, if things can be negotiated to get better rates for you guys. I mean, it's that's the way it is. Flatbeds, whatever, reefers, you name it, tankers, everything you guys haul. It's important, but that's the industry. Remember, you guys work on margins. So anyway, that's that point, and which rolls me right into the election, which Trump had been saying all these things about election. Because remember when I started this video, I talked. I was talking to Collingsworth, and he wanted me to talk about the election. The election is really, if somebody's going to rig the election, it's going to be Trump. He's the one to blame for rigging the election. The Democrats are not rigging the election. Watergate was not made by the Democrats. Uh, the war in Iraq and all the blundering that took place on a fake war, there was no weapons of mass destruction of any kind, not biological, not nuclear, not any kind. It was a depleted army that Saddam Hussein had. So it was easy. It was kind of like a walk in the park to go to Iraq and knock down Saddam Hussein. He ran and hid. You found him, and he's dead. So now, wow, big man, Mr. Bush, he killed. He practically killed, or he gave the order to be killed to Saddam Hussein and got rid of the bad guy. Oh wow, what a marvelous individual, big honcho. That's a bunch of crap. That's a bunch of bullshit because he left the country in the shithole. I mean, that war could have been won in many ways, not the way he did it. And he moved a lot of things logistically, talking about logistics with the truck drivers a while ago. The expense was extraordinary. It was an expensive war, and here it is. So rolling, and oh, while we were there in the Bush administration, in his 8 years of Mr. Bush, we had a booming real estate market, which was fostered by him. I mean, he had Freddie Mae and Freddie Mac giving out, taking in loans and turning the loans into market stocks, MPOs, tracks, and all this fancy words in the financial tool industry. And they were sold in the secondary market, tertiary market, in the global stock exchange. So it wasn't just the U.S. that got screwed, but it was all the countries that are connected to the New York Stock Exchange. They got screwed too because a lot of the stocks and bonds and bundles were purchased by Germany, were purchased by Greece. Where it's a spider web. Think of a spider web, the financial industry that takes place. Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan, SAC, all these companies, Merrill Lynch. Well, it used to be Lehman Brothers, but that was a scapegoat. So you have all this that is taking place with the Trump administration. Now, the Trump administration has all kinds of faults because he likes to do all this police business and all this crafty business. And he's probably got the CIA working like crazy. He got the NSA working like crazy. And he's in a battle with the FBI because many of the FBI people don't want to do what he does. But the CIA and the NSA and all the other spying industries and Fat Boy Pompeo is probably doing his bidding. And since Fat Boy Pompeo was in the CIA, now he feels like he's king of the road because that's one of the things. Oh, when I was in the CIA, yeah, but he was a political appointee. He's not a career CIA agent or official. He's a political appointee, just like Panera, whatever his name is. They're crap. They're a disgrace to the agency, a disgrace the to the society of the U.S. They're a disgrace. I don't know why the senators and the Congress people, the House of Representatives, allow for such things to happen. They should promote the people from the inside. I've always said that the CIA people promote from the NSA people, the counter-terrorist people, the uh, intelligence forces of the energy system, of commerce system. We got law enforcement and intelligence groups that deal in commerce and in trade and all this other stuff. So that's where they get all this 17. There's probably 28 agencies altogether. You ask me, but who's counting? Nonetheless, between you guys and me, Trump needs to secede, concede and say, I lost. That's it. But he got all these lawsuits going on because he doesn't want to concede. And if he wants to have a legacy, he's not going to have one because if he forces himself into people, he is not going to look good. I can tell you that right now. If he forces himself into the people because it's his way or the highway, he is not going to be the cherry on top of the cake. He's going to be sterco. He's going to be a shit, a dog shit, and nothing else. So if anybody hears me, take that into consideration. If he wants to have some type of legacy of any kind, because he did some good things. I'm not going to say everything that he did wasn't that didn't turn out to be good. Had a good result at the end, but if you put him on the balance, the bad outweighs the good. And the way he screwed the American people, he could have changed the view of the American people towards him, but he was obstinate to kill the American dream. For some reason, he doesn't like the American dream. He killed it, even though he mentions it in several speeches. But then he contradicts himself in other segments of the speech. So one say, "Oh, the American dream," and the other side says, "Well, we don't. We're not going to support this deal. We're not going to support this other thing. We're not going to go do this. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep the minimum wage where it is. We're going to open the coal mines and deregulate them." And all those regulations that were in place were to help the workers. Black lung disease is not exactly at the top of the chart of I want to get sick of black lung. That's the fashion today. Be sick of the black lung. No, that's a dangerous disease. That's a cancer. Black lung disease is like cancer and they die from it. And he could care less if they died. Oh, you got a job now. You can go dig holes and die. That way you're in the hole already. They just roll you over and you're dead. See, that's somebody who has no compassion or no sense of of dignity towards the people. Because I would find ways to regulate it. Maybe there's a way to do it, and socially, create social programs. Now does that mean it's socialism? No, it does not mean it's socialism. Only some dumb shit would say that. And you got plenty of dumb shits out there. Ted Cruz, that's a dumb shit. You want an example of a dumb shit? Look at it, Ted Cruz. That's the dumb shit. Look at Lindsey Graham. That's another dumb shit. So you want examples of dumb shit? Just look at those guys, and you'll have a good example of what they look like, because they don't look for the benefit of you people. They would not raise a finger to help the truck drivers who are going on strike because they say they're gonna recover the country. What are they talking about? I mean, I still can't believe that shit. But anyway, that's examples of the truck drivers being left behind because of Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell, and the list goes on. Of all those people in the Senate, and you got some in the Congress too. Mark Meadows is one of them, and the list goes on after that. Of all this, Nunes is another one. So you got people who could actually do something towards the truck driving industry, and they don't do it. They don't even look at you. They don't even care about you. Think about that. Think about what you guys are doing, and you got all these women who are talking about, oh no, you should do, oh no, it's going to happen. Yeah, you got somebody who's an enemy of the state of the country. Enemy of the state is Donald Trump. He's an enemy of the state. He's not looking for the benefit of us. Make this country great again. How? By screwing us? Is that how he's going to make it? How to make this country great enough? Oh, because now he's the head honcho and he can screw us a lot better. He's been screwing people all his life. You think he's going to stop screwing people? No, he's not. Especially, his son Donald Trump Jr. Oh, Dad, you're the most powerful man in the world. Oh yeah, son, I am. What kind of bullshit is that? Not even a monster, a king's kingpin says those things. Lucky Luciano will never say that. You know, all these gangsters, out there, head of families. They don't say that. They care for people. I did a study, and I'm going to conclude this by telling you a story about a study I did. I did this for the International Monetary Fund. In case somebody knows, well, if you don't know, look it up in Google. Just put International Monetary Fund, and you'll get tons of information on those people. They got a full website, and they govern the world on money supply. But that's not here, neither here nor there. I was in a training program in their institution, and they asked the class, you know, how many wanted to write a paper, and everybody rose their hand. Well, most of them raised their hand. So by consensus, the teacher said, okay. So they had a set of countries, and I chose Colombia. I thought it was a good choice. Anyway, the teacher wanted me to take Colombia, so the teacher pointed at Colombia, and he said, Mr. Vasquez, what country do you want? And he got his finger right on Colombia. He said, come on, man, is that a hint or something? So I said, I'll take Colombia. So I did the work on Colombia. One of the fascinating things that I discovered in my study of Colombia was all the drug cartels that they have down there. Very well organized drug cartels. I'll tell you that much. They're not, they're not like a little gang, or like the Trump man's favorite gang, MS-13. He talks about the MS-13 like there were millions of MS-13s here in the U.S. I don't think there's more than I don't think there's more than 9,000 of those MS-13. That's a lot of people. But anyway, that's really exaggerating. 9,000 MS-13s here. That would be the thing. Anyway, so there's two. There were two mega cartels. One was a Medellin cartel run by Pablo Escobar, and the other one is the Cartagena cartel. Now, the Cartagena cartel It's a much more sophisticated, organized cartel. I mean, talk about organizational structure. They got it. They're very well, and they got. I mean, they've been rotating. There's not one person per se that runs the shop. You know, one person does run the shop, but they elect a new person every so often. But my focus was the Medellin cartel, uh, which I had more information on the Medellin cartel thanks to the CIA and thanks to the same monetary fund and thanks to the same Colombian people. So I had more information on those guys. And one of the things that I put together, and the teacher that was impressed, and I got an A in the class, and he liked it very much. And he said, and I said, Pablo Escobar wanted to be president. He's the head of the Medellin cartel. Keep that in mind. The head of the Medellin cartel, and this is a drug organization, okay? They're not selling liquor. They're not selling prostitutes. They're not selling none of this, you know, low key stuff. No, they're in the big league selling drugs, cocaine, and methane. So, but anyway, he uh, he was a bad guy. I mean, he was ruthless, but he changed overnight. Like when I was doing the research, I just said, "What is this the same guy that we're talking about?" He went from extreme bad to close to extreme good or better. Let me say he was in between the better and the good, but never went to the extreme good. But he flipped sides. He began to donate out of these billions of dollars that he earned in the drug trafficking. He began to donate money strategically to develop affordable housing, to develop educational plans, to better the schoolings, to fix the schoolings, to give bonuses to teachers, to create football fields so the kids could go play in football stadiums so they can have tournaments and professional football can go over there and play. So, and he had a food program, and he was already a congressman. He, when he was doing that, he ran for Congress and he got to be a representative, like any of our so many representatives that we have up there in Congress. And he continued to do that, but the CIA was behind him. So they target the Medellin cartel because they thought the guy was too rich. When really the more significant people that they should have targeted was Cartagena cartel, but they never could penetrate that one. That's an ironclad organization. Nonetheless, the Medellin cartel guy, and I thought, wow, that is incredible. People didn't give up. I mean, people, and it was, and like always, there's always a Judas. With Jesus Christ, there was a Judas. Well, there's a Judas here in this story, and the Judas was the one who told the CIA where to find Pablo Escobar, and the Judas ended up being the one who pulled the trigger and killed the guy. So they got rid of the Medellin cartel, which made the Cartagena cartel a lot stronger. Incredible, just flat incredible. But anyway, with that story, I'm gonna end this YouTube. And remember, a real bad guy wanted to be a good guy. And then with Donald Trump, he was a bad guy and he continued to be a bad guy. He wanted to be a badder guy. He just didn't want to be a bad guy, uh, a low life bad guy, but he wanted to be a kingpin bad guy. He wanted to rub elbows with people like Lucky Luciano and all this top of the line mobsters. He can't make it. He can't do what they did. He really screwed us. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and leave you guys. And you have a wonderful evening. Enjoy yourself. Be safe. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless you. Until the next one. I'm going to be working to prepare the next one. Take care.